Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Allahumma shalli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi sayyidina Muhammad. Welcome to the Humanitarian Connect Webinar by Disaster Management Center Dompet Wafa. My name is Fandi Yusuf. I am your host today. I am so happy and excited because I believe we will have a very fruitful discussions, learning sessions with a lot of informations and knowledge will be shared today. Welcome to all the participants, ladies and gentlemen, brother and sister. Thank you so much for joining today. Thank you so much for participating in our webinars today. So this is actually the second webinar held by DMC Dompet Wafa. This month, Agustus, is actually a very special moment for us in Indonesia as we are celebrating our Independence Days. And also, Agustus was also celebrated as, we are also celebrating World Humanitarian Days in August, 19 August to be exact. And in this year, 2021, World Humanitarian Days, the UN chose very specific issues or themes, that is the human race. So Disaster Management Center, Dompet Wafa, are taking part, participating, celebrating the World Humanitarian Days. Discuss today, that is get involved on humanitarian actions during crisis, during pandemic COVID-19. So I would like to share a little bit about the agenda today. We will have a list of prominent speakers, and we will also provide an opportunity for all the participants to join the discussions as well. You can provide the questions, and I believe all the panelists will share their knowledge. So we will. I will introduce. Please allow me to introduce our speakers today. Probably, if you already joined in a couple of minutes before, you already heard some of the discussions between the speakers. Yeah. So first of all, I would like to introduce you to our first speakers, Mr. Khalid Al-Walid, founder and chairman from Philandur, Malaysia. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, good. Baik.
Great. I hope everything is doing well and fine in Malaysia. Yeah.
Inshallah.
So, yeah, that is Mr. Khalid, our first speaker. After Mr. Khalid, we also have a second speaker, Mr. Surya Rahman. He is currently as the executive director of Humanitarian Forum Indonesia. Assalamualaikum. Selamat pagi, Mas Surya.
Alhamdulillah.
Apa kabar, Mas Surya?
Baik. Thank you.
Yeah, so that is our second speaker, and I would also like to introduce our third speakers, Mr. Haryo Mojopahit, Chief DMC Disaster Management Dompet Wafa. Assalamualaikum, Mas Haryo.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Mas Fandi.
Right. How are you, Mas Haryo?
Alhamdulillah, luar biasa.
Luar biasa.
Thank you for everyone.
Thank you for joining today. Yeah. So we still have another one speaker, Ibu Titi Muktijasih, Humanitarian Affairs Analyst from UN OCHA. Ibu Titi will soon joining us as today. This morning she still have another activities and will soon joining us today later on. So that's all our speakers for today's webinar. Thank you so much to all the speakers for joining today, for allocating today, and they will share their experience, knowledge related to our topics today. Before we start, I would like to share to all the participants, attendants, brothers and sisters, the rules for our 2 days webinars. This is actually basically just a simple rules to ensure that the webinar today runs smoothly. I would like the screen, the rule. Yeah, while writing the bits about the background, why helped this the oh, it's disappeared again. Okay, it's fine. While we're waiting for the rules to be shared, again let me share a little bit of backgrounds. As I mentioned before, that this Augustus is a very special month for Indonesia. Indonesia celebrating Independence Day, and I believe also our neighbors country in Southeast Asia also will be celebrating the Independence Day soon. Like our fellow colleagues in Malaysia will be celebrating 31st August as the Independence Day, and also Singapore also in August. And another background is also, like I mentioned before, is the World Humanitarian Days. Taking an issue, the human race related to all the humanitarian initiatives to fighting the climate crisis. As we, I believe all of us already knew this, maybe just recently we heard news that some of the countries in major cities and Europe, actually, we've never seen that before. Some of the major cities in Europe experiencing floods. And then just recently fires in Turkey and also in Greece. And for us who live in Indonesia, in Jakarta, we also heard news about the possibility of sinking of some cities in Indonesia, including the capital. So having said that, I think all of us will be agreed that the climate change is not a myth. It's a real thing, and we can see today the fact some of the recent disasters that are happening, just as I mentioned before. So, and we are fighting the climate crisis during in the middle of another crisis, the COVID-19. I think every corner, every country in the world is still fighting. Even some countries are able successfully to promote the vaccine programs. Some countries are still fighting to socialize and to ensure to be able to get the herd immunity, just like in Indonesia. So you can imagine that the level of risk facing by all the people actually around the world, facing multiple risks due to the climate change and also due to the COVID-19. So that's why DMC Dompet Duafa, Disaster Management Center Dompet Duafa, held this event. We want to share the best practices around the world in Indonesia and also from the region in Asia Pacific. What initiative has been done by the civil society, what the positive impact that actually happening currently, and where are we now actually on the path to fight the climate crisis during this pandemic. So that is the background why we held this webinar. As I mentioned before, that we have a very prominent speakers that will share the knowledge-based practice. Back to the rules, actually this is very simple rules. We would like to ask all the participants to mute your microphone and also turn off the camera during the discussions. We will provide an opportunity for all of the participants to ask questions, and during that session you can activate the microphone and also the camera as well. So before I invite our moderator who will facilitate, I would like to invite all the attendees, the participants, to watch a short video. This was taken from the BBC that can start our discussion today. It's very interesting video. So we'd like to ask our crew to share the videos.
Seiring dompet duafa terbentuk tahun 1994, Disaster Management Center (DMC) hadir, aktif melakukan aksi. Di tahun 2010, DMC resmi menjadi garda terdepan di berbagai aksi kemanusiaan dompet duafa.
Oke, tim respon DMC siap? Siap! Siap untuk selamat? Siap! Siap.
Tim bersama puluhan relawan bahu-membahu di lokasi bencana. Berbagai program dibentuk. Respons bencana, tanggap darurat. Recovery, rehabilitasi dan rekonstruksi. Pengurangan risiko bencana. Bekerjasama dengan beberapa mitra, diantaranya DMC menjadi lembaga model pengelolaan kebencanaan dalam bidang penguatan kapasitas masyarakat, pengurangan resiko bencana, dan bantuan darurat.
Saya mengucapkan terima kasih pada dompet duafa atas bantuannya air bersih, mudah-mudahan bermanfaat bagi masyarakat Dusun Lopong Pakel.
Bantuan yang telah diberikan kepada kami yang cukup banyak, terima kasihnya tak mampu diucapkan satu persatu.
Tentunya pada kesempatan ini saya selaku Kepala Desa Walatana mengucapkan banyak terima kasih kepada dompet duafa yang tadinya datang membantu memberikan sosialisasi tentang kebencanaan yang ada di Desa Walatana.
Terima kasih dompet duafa.
Yeah, I think that is actually a video profile of DMC Dompet Duafa. So, as I mentioned before, we will see another video. It was actually a video from BBC that telling about the impact of the climate crisis in the middle of the pandemic.
COVID-19 has changed the way we live. Lockdowns mean people around the world have taken fewer car journeys, flights have been grounded, and industry has shut down. And you can see the difference that's made to air quality in some of the most polluted cities. But what about something you can't see? Carbon dioxide, one of the key greenhouse gases responsible for climate change. As the pandemic spread around the globe, CO2 emissions did fall as countries went into lockdowns. The falls in emissions have been bigger than in any past economic slowdown, including during the Second World War. This may sound like good news for our climate, but it's not that simple. Think of carbon emissions like the taps filling a bathtub. This year, those taps have been turned down. The water, or the CO2, is flowing a bit more slowly. But the bath is still filling up. In fact, on the 1st of June 2020, while many countries were in lockdowns, the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere reached its highest level in human history and quite possibly the highest in 3 million years. So, our carbon bathtub is pretty full, and we can't just simply pull out the plug. Carbon dioxide is absorbed by the plants and the oceans, like natural sponges. But this takes time. CO2 emitted today will still be in the atmosphere in hundreds of years. So, there'd need to be a long-term drop in carbon dioxide output to make a real difference to the climate crisis. And the question is, what will the recovery from the pandemic look like? We've already seen that as countries' economies open up again, emissions also return to their upward trend. For them to continue slowing down, some of the changes the pandemic's forced us to make to work, industry and travel would have to become more permanent. Even while the world's attention has been focused on coronavirus, the effects of climate change have continued. 2020 is set to end up as one of the warmest years on record. In the fight to tackle the climate crisis, it'll be up to governments and societies to decide whether the drop in CO2 emissions caused by the pandemic is the new normal or just a drop in the ocean.
Indonesia mencatat
kasus kematian di tanah air bertambah 1.500.
Antrian warga yang hendak mengisi tabung oksigen.
Kita semua menghadapi pandemi bersama-sama. Keberhasilan satu wilayah tidak ada artinya kalau tidak seluruh Indonesia berhasil kendalikan COVID-19.
Berdasarkan kondisi nyata yang ada di Indonesia saat ini, 2 Juli 2021 bertepatan dengan Milad Dompet Duafa yang ke-28 di Markas Disaster Management Center. Dompet Duafa kembali mengaktifkan layanan Krisis Center Cekal Corona sebagai upaya memberikan pelayanan yang maksimal bagi korban-korban terdampak COVID-19 yang kurang mampu. Layanan Krisis Center Cekal Corona Dompet Duafa membuka ruang kolaborasi dari semua golongan, baik individu maupun kelompok atau organisasi. Sebagaimana kegiatan lainnya, Dompet Duafa membuka ruang untuk kolaborasi dari berbagai pihak, baik pemerintah, swasta, maupun NGO lainnya.
Satu persatu tenaga medis kita ini tumbang dan menjadi bagian dari korban terhadap COVID ini juga. Maka kemudian kita coba untuk membangun sebuah gerakan kepedulian. Upaya kita untuk melengkapi hal itu dengan bentuknya adalah dukungan. Bentuknya dukungan, kalau yang secara pragmatis kita berikan supporting dalam bentuk yang sederhana tapi insya Allah mudah-mudahan bermanfaat. Yang kedua adalah kita mulai mencoba untuk menggalakkan masyarakat agar ikut-ikutan bersama-sama untuk mendukung tenaga medis ini, memberikan semangat dan seterusnya. Nah, yang ketiga adalah kita coba untuk memainkan peran advokasi lembaga.
Caranya kita bagi habis sih. Oh, diganti aja, tambahin bensin lagi sama airnya. Oh gitu. Makan, ada. Ada. Habis dari rumah sakit Mitra ini. Hari ini udah bagus sih lumayan. Alhamdulillah udah mulai naik terus.
Layanan yang diintegrasikan menjadi suatu kawasan, yaitu Krisis Center Cekal Corona, diantaranya adalah layanan ambulans, layanan isoman, pemantauan berkala, psikososial, rumah sakit lapangan, dapur umum, support oksigen, barzah, dan food for duafa.
Mengucapkan terima kasih jazakumullah khairan kepada pihak Dompet Duafa telah menyelenggarakan program tes antigen gratis untuk masyarakat kami di sekitar wilayah Masjid Abbas dan untuk santri-santri di pesantren Abbas Jatisari.
Ya, alhamdulillah hari ini kita kedatangan pangan ya. Berupa beras dari Dompet Duafa. Alhamdulillah banget ya Allah. Ya alhamdulillah itu sangat membantu buat keperluan anak-anak di sini.
Yeah, we just saw on the videos. There's a questions from the narrators. Is this a new normal or just a drop on the oceans? Also mentioned by the narrator that the responsibility is not only by the governments from every country in the world, but also from the society. So I believe as we are part of the society, and especially the humanitarian activists that have a lot of initiatives tackling the human crisis due to the climate change. I think that's a really good question to lead our discussions today. Before I introduce you to our moderator, I would like also to mention that this webinar is also facilitated by our friends for JBI, Juru Bahasa Isyarat, to ensure that this webinar is inclusive. Our friends with special needs can also joining and participate in our today's discussions. Thank you for our friends from JBI for helping us facilitating to ensure that this is an inclusive webinars. And also for those of you who want to follow the discussions in Bahasa Indonesia, you can check, you can activate, we provide the interpreters, translator. You can activate the features by clicking a globe symbol just below the screen. So you will have, you can follow these discussions in Bahasa Indonesia, but also our interpreter also helping to kind of translate resume on the chat box, so you can also check on the chat box. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our today's moderator. I would like you to introduce to Mr. Samsul Ardiansa. He is currently working as a senior officer strategic alliance for Dompet Duafa. Mr. Samsul, can you hear us?
Yes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for joining and helping us to facilitate the discussion. So without further ado, the time is yours, Mr. Samsul.
Thank you, Fandi. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala mursalin. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, folks, and all who are attending this webinars, I would like to say that this is an honor for me to be the moderator for these sessions. I'm also happy that during this time, I can see Mr. Khalid Al-Walid, friend of mine, from Philandus, Malaysia, and also of mine, because we are working together in Humanitarian Forum Indonesia. I'm joining in Humanitarian Forum Indonesia since I think 2011, or sorry, 29 until now. And I also happy to see Mr. Haryo Mojopahit, the Chief of Disaster Management Center of Dompet Duafa. I think he is now the busiest person in Dompet Duafa because he led the crisis center of Dompet Duafa for the corona response. And we will meet Mrs. Titi Muktiasis. She's coming from UNOCHA office of Indonesia, and he will be joining later. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, and all the participants who are attending this webinar, as been said by Fandi, and also we are also informed by the latest video coming from the BBC. Right now, we are witnessing what has been mentioned by a month ago, the Interpanel on Climate Change, the IPCC, released the 6th assessment report on climate change. the sixth assessment report of climate change is not bringing a good news for us as a human being. Actually, it is a red code for humanity, because according to the report that was formulated around by hundreds of scientists in 8 years that compile research, three decade research in many parts of the world, saying that the climate change now has been increasingly dangerous for the human beings. And I believe that we are also witnessing the situations. Few months ago, we are affected by cyclones in East Nusa Tenggara Timur, East Nusa Tenggara, which is, I think that's the first cyclone that affecting directly to the Indonesian's islands. And also right now we are witnessing the worst impact of pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. Some people might ask that, is there any connection between climate change and the COVID-19 pandemic? And later we will discuss that. Some experts said that there is a strong connection between pandemic and the climate change. The way we treat this earth, this planet, is the way that creates sufficient condition for the pandemic coming into our life. I will not tell more about what has been going on, because I think we believe that we are already informed by many sources about these current situations. I will directly go into our main agenda, our sessions. We'd like to hear from Mr. Khalid Al-Walid about what has been done by civil society in Malaysia related to the response for the climate crisis, and also during this pandemic, or vice versa, response from the civil society in Malaysia on pandemic, and at the same time also responding the climate crisis that happening in Malaysia. And we also want to listen from Mr. Surya Rahman Muhammad about the lesson learned that has been taken from the multi-faith, interfaith collaboration, humanitarian collaborations in responding the climate crisis and also pandemic, and from Mr. Haryo about the experience of the Dompet Duafa, the volunteers of Dompet Duafa in doing this. So for the first session, I would like to invite Mr. Khalid Al-Walid to take the sessions. You have 20 minutes for your presentation. I hope that's enough. So silakan, Mr. Khalid, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Samsul. Thank you very much, Dompet Duafa, DMC Dompet Duafa, for inviting me for this session. I feel very obliged to be together with all of us today. I promised to Brother Fendi that I'm going to have only 3 slides, but I need to seek apology to everybody because I have 20 slides. So every slide will be taking around 60 seconds. Okay, thank you very much. I am Khalid Al-Walid Mustafa Kamil, the founder and the chairman of Malaysia. And today I'll be talking about the role of humanitarian action, fight against the climate crisis during this pandemic. But I will not dive into the climate change or climate crisis only, but I would like to share what is the lesson learned from Malaysia, especially the civil society organization during this pandemic. When the pandemic struck, I still remember during that time, I was invited to go to Indonesia by Mr. Haryo. That was 18 months back. So it is around February 2020, I believe, and I can see that the whole things happen very drastically. I said, no worries, I can go, I can stay in Indonesia for a while, but I don't know if I went that time, I will be stuck in Indonesia, or I will stuck in Jakarta. The longest period I staying in Jakarta is only 3 months. When I was 18 years old, no, not 18, 21 years old. When I was learning something, I learned with a few friends from UI at that time. So I stay in Depok for 3 months. So when pandemic struck, a lot of it creates uncertainty for everybody. It is a non-precedent incident for us, I believe. If the last pandemic was happening in 1970s, most of us are not yet birth in the world, don't exist yet at that point of time. So when it happened in 2019, I believe that everybody get shocked and stuck, including the humanitarian organization. In Malaysia, when it's happened, most of us don't know what to do. When the government announced lockdown, even the NGO couldn't do anything. They stuck and they do not know how to move forward. Yeah, we know how all this happened from busy areas, tourism attraction, but it happened, become empty. And one thing that I really love Malaysian community or Malaysian society is where everybody start to provide solution. When problems happen, every restaurant, every shop, every petrol pump, even some of our resident area, they provide food pack or free food for for those who are in need, and a lot of duafa packages being given to the needy. But one thing that I noticed, even the government start to move everything. The corporate start to provide CSR, the wakaf and also sedekah or zakat house sending help and assistance. Everybody are doing it, even individuals, not politicians, but individuals are working on the ground. They go they reach every single area in the country. They try to go to the remote area. They send everything that they can do. So this is where we can see the role of the government. If before this, a country will always rely on the government and the private sector. But this time around, the government and the private sector relying on the civil society. The civil society are the one that listen to the grassroots. They tell what they need, and they start to send assistance and to send.
Tombol bahasa Indonesia. Nah, ini sekarang udah bisa. Halo? Mana suaranya?
Operator mohon di ini suara yang bocor, silakan.
Yep. And I can see that a lot of big organizations, small organizations are working towards this. They send every aid that they can. They collect a lot of money. They work together with the army, the police, the civil defense team, and everything. But one thing that I would like to highlight, all the aids and the response get tired. We get fatigue. The donors get fatigue. The frontliners are getting tired. So the civil society organization also getting tired. There's a statistic that during the pandemic, the numbers of non-registered organizations are become more and more, and they are collecting money from the public. And for the first 6 months, 1 year, they might receive the money that being collected from the public might be more than 1 billion. But at the end of the day, it become fatigue. After 6 months, after 7 months, after towards the end of towards the middle of 2020, everybody start to get tired. So even the non-profit organization also have a lot of difficulties to maintain their volunteers, to maintain their staff and things like that. But if this is, I try to show all of us how the social impact and also the economic impact, if without prevention, if without any prevention measures taken by all parties. So with prevention, we can manage the wave, and we can see how with prevention, the blue one, we can control things. But without prevention, it might be go higher, and the numbers might be go higher and bigger, and at the same time, the economy might be worsened towards the end. But different countries have different method of managing the crisis. I would say that Malaysia was one of the best country in the world that managing the crisis in the beginning, but on the second wave and the third wave, we couldn't manage, we couldn't do anything, as if everybody is accepting the pandemic, and okay, COVID is here, so we cannot do anything. But before that, during the first wave, the government managed to curb the curve well, but then at the end of the day, until today, we still have around 20,000 cases per day, and before this is only less than 1,000. So nevertheless, we are getting towards the end of the phase, and a lot of a lot of states are being open in stages for economy purposes, but in terms of COVID cases, still a lot in the market. I mean, in the society. I believe that this is a kind of a reset button for everybody. It is not only for the government, not only for the public sector, not only to the private sector, but also to the third sector. So it is a reset button sent by the God. When it's happened, researchers from Tokyo University examine how lifestyle changed during COVID-19 state of emergency, affected consumption habit and associated carbon footprint in Japanese household. I believe that it's happened also in Malaysia, in Indonesia, and the whole world. People start to go back to their backyard, to start to do to cultivate seeds, start to have their small farm They start to feed, to have fish on the poly tank. They start to cultivate their own vegetables, and it's actually it might be a drop of water in an ocean, like what the reporter saying in the BBC video clip is now. And we believe that even it is a drop of water, if the whole nation, the whole world working towards that, it will work. But then towards the end of the day, when economies start to open, the tourism start to work, the factories start to work, then again the climate crisis will be happen again and again. And as we know, when it's happened, the weather become little bit recover, but I would say it is only for a certain period of time. And if we go now today, we see the weather, it start to become worsen. So again, we are in the era of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. We don't know what happened in the future. So for non-profit organization, for humanitarian organization, for civil society organization, we're being affected very much because of this VUCA world. We don't know what happened in the future. We don't know whether the pandemic will be end soon. I still remember when the Security Council of National Security Council in Malaysia saying that, okay, this pandemic might be end within 6 months, but it's not end 6 months. It tends to be more than 1 year. The school planned to open in March 2021, but it dragged to May, then dragged to September, supposedly 1st September, now dragged to October. So it is all about the world we cannot see the end of this pandemic. So for non-profit organization in Malaysia, there are few kind of organization that taking this opportunity to strengthen the organization. If we can see that during this pandemic, this is the first wave. Next is the recession. Next will be the climate change. Next will be the biodiversity collapse. So it is not we as an organization, if we can we can go through this phase of COVID-19. Bear in mind that we are having recession wave after this. Bear in mind that we are having the climate change after this. We will having the biodiversity collapse after this. So what is our rules? If the corporate start to have the ECG, environment, social, and governance embed into their organization, what about us? Sometimes we are the humanitarian organization, but we are the one that contribute to the climate change. How? We are the one that use a lot of papers in the office. We are the one that using plastic bottle in our office. In our webinar, for example, we might be at home, but if we are having a physical event, we might contribute. We might raise. We might raise the numbers of our rubbish. So what is our function as a organization? As a humanitarian organization, it is a double standard. If I say that, it is irony if I say that we would like to fight for climate change, we would like to advocate for a better world, but at the same time, we are the one that contributing towards the climate change. So what is our role? At Finlandia, we take the pandemic as the opportunity to advocate for organization empowerment. What we do is we don't give drugs. As a civil society organization, don't give drugs to the community. But what we need to do is we need to give prescription. We need to give the right medicine to the right problem. What happened today is we give money to the community. We give food. And after this, they will ask us, brother, where is the money? Before this, you give me every month, I get 100 ringgit. I need 100 ringgit now. So we give them drugs and we don't give them prescription. So what we should do? In the pandemic, I can see that the public sector, the private sector, the third sector are working together. Before this, everybody are working in silos. The government said, okay, NGO is NGO. No need for us to work together with NGO. The private sector that's saying that, okay, the thing that we need to know is profit, nothing else. The CSR fund is only the corporate social responsibilities is only for me to get the tax exemption. And there is no impact for the community. But now, when pandemic happened, everybody are working in a unity, in a uniformity. Before this, public sector might be the Iron Man. Private sector might be the Thor. Third sector might be the Incredible Hulk. But now, during the pandemic, everybody become Avengers. We are working together to fight the situation. And the most important thing, don't address the symptom. We as a social, we are the social impact organization, or we are impact-driven organization, or we are the non-profit organization or humanitarian organization. Don't address the symptom. If we address the symptom, we will die. We will keep on giving the society the drugs. We inject them with drugs, with heroin. We thought that when we give heroin, they get themselves calm and everything is okay. But it's not happen like that. We should address the problem. Not only the problem, we should address the cause of the problem. So in the climate crisis, what is the main problem? We should dive into that. We should dive what is the cause of the problem. We as a humanitarian organization, we should see how we could give or contribute to this theory of change. So we should address the cause and not to address the symptom. And at the same time, we also need to know what is the Bradshaw categories. This is Bradshaw categories. Some people, when disasters happen, we ask them what they need. A group of community might say that I need food, okay. And another from our side, we might feel that okay, it is obvious that actually their actual need is not food, but they need some work for them to get money and to buy food. And if it is a normative needs, what is normative need? Normative need is where the specialist, the expert saying that, okay, actually those people who are in need, they are actually need an opportunity for them to look for money. And at the same time, we need to compare any survey or any studies or any success story from another area, how they find solution for problems. So by having these 4 categories of need, we need to do the triangulation. What means triangulation? Means that we need to do whether it is like this, we choose 3, or we might be choosing this 1, 2, 3, or we might be choosing 1, 2, or 3 here. So it depends. It is what we call triangulation in determine what is the actual need of the community. Because we don't want to address wrong grassroots problem. We might address the symptom and not the root cause of the problem. Okay. So in this pandemic,
Mr. Khalid, you have you have 5 more minutes.
Okay, sure. We'll complete soon. Okay. In the pandemic, organizations should have to take this opportunity to have their organization development. How we do that? First, when we have organization development, we also need to have the talent development, where we need to comply with because talent is the one that will empower or to make things happen in the organization. And then at the same time, it is to build a conscious and resilient civil society organization. And at Philandio, we have this terminology we call philanthropy navigators, where we have 8 terminals. So we empower the organization in terms of impact sustainability, how we do things right and giving sustainability and impact, and then how to manage portfolio program and project, how to do partnership, collaboration and networking, how to have organizational sustainability and fundraising sustainability, financial sustainability, how to manage stakeholder management and advocacy, how to manage quality management, governance and risk management, strategic and leadership. So this is the philanthropy navigator, where a strong organization would be if they could complete all the 8 terminals. And after that, we also empower the talent in the sector by exploring the self-management competency, technical competencies, social development competencies, leadership and strategy competencies, and also organizational development competencies. And I believe that this will be the best solution, so that when we have the volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, we transform our organization to have a vision, understanding, clarity, and agility, so that our organization becomes stronger and stronger. And I believe that that is my end of my slide. Thank you very much. You may contact me at Philandio, Khalid@philandio.co. I left .co over there. My phone number is there, and this is our website for Philandio. Thank you very much, and I hand it over back to Brother Samsul.
Thank you very much, Brother Khalid, for your presentation. It is interesting presentations. I believe that one said that this COVID, we can overcome this crisis, this COVID crisis, by 2 ways. The first is based on science. So we should base on science. And the second strategy is using the social solidarity. And you started the presentation by saying that the COVID has stimulated the increasing of social solidarity among the peoples in Malaysia. However, I'm interested with what have you been said as a reset button. I think it's not only civil society who need to do that, but all aspect in our human life should also aware that I think this is the reset button that, as you said, that sending by God to remind us about things that we need to revise or things that we need to improve in where we create the more sustainable futures. And the third aspect that I also interesting, that probably in the next question, the next session, you will have to improve more, is what is the role of civil society? We cannot do charity as we have done before. We have to improve our strategies, still based on social solidarity, but social solidarity in the recent with the, I think, the newest strategies to improve the social solidarity, not only giving medicine as you said, but also prescriptions. And I think that's the 3 issues that Next, when we have a discussion, we would like to hear more from you about those kind of issues. Thank you very much, Mr. Khalid, for your presentations. Now, everyone, we are moving into the second presentations. We will listening from Mr. Surya Rahman Muhammad about the experience of Humanitarian Forum Indonesia as interfaith humanitarian consortium in Indonesia in order to respond to the climate crisis and also the COVID-19 crisis in Indonesia. Mr. Surya, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. Silakan. The place is yours.
Yeah. Sorry. I cannot playing the video because look like the admin is still lock my video. But it's okay. I will show this presentation.
Sorry. For operator, can you open the video for Mr.
That's
Surya?
right. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Pak Samsul, Mas Samsul.
Tak kenal maka tak sayang. Okay.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greetings to all. This is a big opportunity for all to share our lesson about Humanitarian Forum Indonesia, about how we doing several issues like in humanitarian. Also in this case, we want to share about the climate change during pandemic. And before we start this session, I was sorry because maybe in the some slide I will share. I will deliver in bahasa. Hope maybe the translator will be ready to translate some slide about that. Okay. Yeah. Before I tell about what to do in the climate issues, I want to share about who we are. We are Interfaith Forum for Humanitarian and Development Organization. We are a consortia. We founded by a 7 faith organization, and then Dompet Duafa is a part of the founder. And then now we have 18 members. We still focus in the faith-based and humanitarian, but some of the members also work for the issue of climate change. So I think if we talk humanitarian, sometimes we using terminology TRR. I think it's very related with the climate change adaptation. So I think some activity has a similarity. And then why in this opportunity we want to share about that. And then our role is the capacity building, networking, advocacy, and awareness and coordination is how we maintain our members, and then how we can share more information about the capacity, because you know we have many background of the members, because you know some members come from the philanthropic, some members from the pure NGO, some members come from the we call in here ormas or civil society. So I think we have diversity typical of members in the Humanitarian Forum. And then our vision is to establish sustainable civil society, and our mission you can see in this presentation. And then what we do, we also promote the value and the humanitarian principle, advocacy, development platform, and then communication and information sharing effort, and facilitating the activities. We also have several program strategies like organizational consolidate, and then we also implementing 5 humanitarian forum initiative model like capacity building, regulatory coordination, cooperation, and the humanitarian policies. And then if we see what is a humanitarian forum, we have many partners here. We have members. We have also partner and also stakeholder like UN OCHA is regularly we communicate with them, BPBD or National Agency for Disaster Management, and then BPBD and another UN agencies, local and national government, and then INGO, CSO, and etc. We also membership of the ADRN, and then we also member of HCT, CDA, GLI, and also GNDRR. And then we also have, actually it's not our branch, but because we have more than 18 members, and every members have a lot of branches. So I think now we have more than 300 branches in Indonesia, because maybe if I mention like a Dompet Duafa, I think they have more than they established in 34 province and more than maybe 200 or 300 districts. I think we can see if now we have more than 300 branches around in Indonesia, and then some members also have branches in some country like in America, Africa, and also Europe. And we back to the issues, because you see, if we see the name of humanitarian, I think it's related with the several issue that make an impact to the human, like disaster and also conflict. But HFI and the members more focused in the disaster. And I think disaster and climate change is in the beginning I said if they have a relation. So I think disaster, climate change, and environmental damage is a same thing that we have to handle to mitigate or adapt it some case, because I think if we are not mitigate or adapted, I think it's also impact to the human. So and become a humanitarian problem. So I think climate change, we still some members have a focus in these issues, and but majority still focus in the humanitarian prey or disaster. But I think because we think this is the same issues, I think we have same approach to how to handle between disaster, climate change, and environmental damages. And then if we see the disaster statistic in Indonesia, you see mostly case of a disaster happen by of hydrometeorological disaster, or we can say it's because climate disaster, like flood, also drought, forest fire, and then landslide, and etc. I think more than 90% of the case of disaster in Indonesia because impact the climate change. So I think why we need to make a plan how to mitigate and adapt it, because if we not, I think it's make more impact. It's more big impact. And then in the previous when I introduced HFI is Internet Forum. So why we think interfaith collaboration is one of the key, because you know the religious is a unifying value in the nation. So we believe every religion teach to do good, and then how to fellow human being, and I think collaborating between among faith, or maybe faith leader or faith actor, I think is one of the key, because in Indonesia almost 98% is a religion person. So I think how to make engage between many religion, it's one solution how to handle not only in the humanitarian issue but also the climate issues. And then I want to share some experience and in our organization, also in our member, that we work in the in disaster issue. Sometimes we link it with some climate issue, like in the pre-disaster, we make a disaster risk assessment, awareness raising, capacity building, support for the implementation of the RR action, like pre-planning, mangrove planning, water conservation, biopori, and etc. And during and the post-disaster, we also assessment, research, and then search and rescue, regular coordination, written situational update, planning, distribution, and put. And then some activity is linked with the climate issue, like how to facilitate water and sanitation. And we need to see how to we recycle the water, because maybe some area like the flood area, maybe we cannot find the good water. So I think some activity we doing, like friendly sanitation, and then environment, some and also we made if we build shelter, we use some material that very environmental friendly, and etc. And I think that this program do it as several members of HFI, and sometimes we also make a collaboration with the government, educational institution, private sector, media, and NGOs. And then this is several activity that we have to. We also make developing KIE material. You can see in this slide. And then we also we have a program like postal area conservation is doing by a friend from LPWNU Nahdlatul Ulama, and I think Dompet Duafa also doing this one. So some activity is doing by our member, and we also have a participator, the religious leader in the environmental conservation, because I think because if I mentioned before that majority of in Indonesia 98% is the religious people. So I think the voice of the religious leader is very given the impact. So why some activity we participate the religious leader. Also we have also make a community-based waste management. This picture is doing by a friend from LPPI Nahdlatul Ulama, is one of our member. They built more now is 120 branches in 8 provinces like Java, West Java, Central Java, and etc. And then I think one of the important thing that what we do in the humanitarian principle, we have a principle do no harm, and then in each of approach. So I think some intervention, not only but in disaster response, but also in the disaster reduction and also climate change adaptation. How we can identify unintentional negative or positive impact of humanitarian, because maybe sometimes if we don't make detail about how we can intervention, maybe it make an impact maybe negative for the community. And then we applied at planning, implementation, monitoring, and ensuring intervention does not worsen conflict, because sometimes when we make some program, maybe it make a conflict in several area, because when the aid not enough, sometimes it make new conflict in some area. And the focus on the resilience of the people and then approach an important basis for the work or organization operating in crisis. I think it's same in the previous slide. I think we have 4 mandate: humanity, neutrality, independence, impartiality is a humanitarian principle. But I think this principle is similar. We can use in the climate change adaptation program. And then the last slide I want to tell you, if because you know HFI is a consortia and we have our focus in the coordination, we see if the coordination is a part of protection. So we also make some manual or procedure we call HFI protocol for humanitarian response. I think maybe in the next for the climate change issue, we also can produce protocol how to engage among NGO have a focus and the climate change adaptation, because we see in Indonesia we have a lot of NGO, and every NGO have focus and they have different issues, and some NGOs also have different characteristic, different typical and etc. So I think if we have like a protocol, I think it's a good idea to how to engage among NGOs, because you know until now we have a different separate issue between NGOs focused in TRR and also NGO is focused in climate change adaptation. How we can satukan, in English,
unite.
Yeah, it can unite this.
You have less than 5 minutes, yeah, Mas Surya.
Okay. I think this is last presentation. I think this manual or this protocol is very helpful to how to unite the different background of the NGOs, because you know we have 18 NGOs in the HFI, and we produce this protocol, and hope this all member can share and also how to collaborate in the field. Also in the response context or in the activity context, we can produce like a response plan in context for TRR or disaster management. I think for climate change we also make response plan for the other work plan for the climate change intervention, adaptation intervention. So I think you can see in this presentation, I made this response plan for the acceleration for the COVID-19 handle. So I think each issue can be integrated in this, and we make a manual or book or protocol or plan that we can merujuk atau what that in English. Can refer
reference,
this, as a reference. Okay, I think it's enough for me, Mas Samsul. Hope not too much. Take to you, Mas Samsul.
Thank you very much, Mas Surya, for your presentation. Actually, we would like to hear more about how faith and religious communities can become the modalities for our society to overcome the climate and the COVID-19 crisis. And if you see in the context of Southeast Asian's community, where I think we have a similar context where we are composed by different ethnic and also religions, how the lesson learned that taken from Humanitarian Forum Indonesia can be upscale in, for example, in the context of Southeast Asian regions. But please keep in mind, and we would like to hear more about it in the next session during the question and answer sessions. So there are two questions: how to use the faith and religious community as modalities, and how we can upscale the lesson from Humanitarian Forum Indonesia in the context of, for example, in the context of Southeast Asians. So we can have more learning from other countries. Mas Surya, thank you very much again. And the third presentation will be delivered by Haryo Mojopahit, the Chief of Disaster Management Centers of Dompet Duafa. Mas Haryo, I hope you are ready, and you have, like others, 20 minutes for your presentations. Mas Haryo, the time is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mas Samsul. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah, it is an honor to have you guys here, to have Bang Khalid, Mas Surya, and later Mbak Titi. My presentation will be Dompet Duafa's effort in fighting against climate change. Can you see my screen, Mas Samsul and other participants?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay, so because Disaster Management Center is a part of Dompet Duafa. Dompet Duafa is Islamic philanthropy organization. So we collect zakat, wakaf, sodaqah, and other donation to support our philanthropic programs. And one of our programs is a climate change program. And Dompet Duafa, Dompet means wallet, and Duafa means Duafa, poor people. Without Duafa, we just only wallet, right? So, and I think that Dompet Duafa was founded by some journalists in Indonesia in 1993, and it began with a small column in the national newspaper named Republika. Yeah, so why Dompet Duafa need to step up or step in the climate change issues? I think that according to OECD, they said that the climate change is limiting access to clean water, food, and human living space. So the vulnerable people will find it increasingly difficult to access all three. It will affect health, education, work productivity, and livelihood. So the main class in our society who are affected by climate change is the Duafa, is the poor people. So the poor people will have more difficult life in the future if we not doing anything to prevent the climate change. And as you know, the climate changing, I think that the lower and middle income countries are the most vulnerable, facing the risks of falling into poverty, because the lower and middle income countries, they have very limited budget or resources, and they have very weak government. So that's why maybe they cannot doing anything to fight the climate change. And I think we need adaptation to the impacts of the climate change while we are preparing our inclusive and sustainable development. And I think that, right now in Indonesia and in other countries, I think that we are facing the real effects of the climate change. So you can see, like, every year in Jakarta area, in some big cities in Indonesia, we are experiencing flood, or maybe in some, if like on the coast, we already facing the rock flood, and also in the mountains or the hills, we are facing the flash flood, or we call it banjir bandang, right? That's the flash flood. And I think that this natural disaster don't come by itself. It because us as a human who contribute to this natural disaster, because that disasters, those disasters are a part of our carbon, jejak carbon, carbon print, our carbon print.
Footprint.
Yeah, carbon footprint. And I think that in Dompet Duafa, we have some philosophy that related to our programs. So we will discuss this. So the first one is the philosophy of the poverty, and the second one is the fishing rod and the lake philosophy, and the third philosophy is the development program philosophy. And I think that Bang Khalid is very familiar with these philosophies.
Yes.
Yeah, and Dompet Duafa philosophy, when we view poverty, we believe that poverty we have a low income, right? And that because in some countries, in some society, the low income is because the low health, because maybe they smoke too much, they like the society don't get a good nutrition. So if you like rich people, so you can buy foods, right? And you can buy nutritious food. But for poor people, they cannot afford a nutritious food, right? Maybe they only eat like rice and the kerupuk, right? And the crackers, right? So because that very low nutrition, very low health, and then mixed with the low education, because they have no access to good education, they have no time to go to school because the school is far away, they have no books to be read, these low health are mixed with the low education or skills, so that brings the society go to low productivity, because they have very low productivity, they are not productive, right? So who will hire you when you are not productive? So that's why if you're not productive, you have very low productivity, so you will get a low income, so you will get very limited money. So that's why we call this as the vicious circle of poverty, or in Indonesia we call it like lingkaran setan kemiskinan, because we are trapped into this cycle day by day, year by year, and generations. So that's why low income, like poverty, doesn't come by itself. It's the iceberg phenomenon of the structure of the society. And yeah, that's because the weak people or the du'afa or the mustad'afin, they have no access to healthcare, they have no access to knowledge and skills, they have no access to economic resources, they don't have access to da'wah or to the Islamic values. So that makes them have low productivity, because they are because health is an asset, right? So if you're sick, so you cannot go to work, right? When you have very low energy, so you cannot, doing some hard work. So that's why, I think that because the poor people or the du'afa people, they have no access to all of these services, so they have very low productivity. And I think that the second philosophy is the fishing rod philosophy. So our founder, Mr. Parni Hadi, in his books, Jejak-Jejak Membekas. So this is like the politician right now, right? They have the Jejak-Jejak Membekas. So don't just give people fish, but also empower people to be able to go to fishing. So like as Bang Khalid said that, right now, a lot of organizations, they give drugs, they give foods, they give, everything that the community needs, but that's only charity, right? They only give fish, but they don't teach like how to fish, how to get fish. But in Dompet Duafa, this is our previous logo. Our previous logo is the fishing rod or kail or pancing in Indonesia. So this kail or these fishing rods means we don't give people just fish, but we try to teach them how to fishing. How to fish. So if they can fish, so they can get their own fish. So that's why in Dompet Duafa we have empowerment program or economic empowerment program. But sometimes people who are very good at fishing, they cannot get any fish because the lake itself, I think the lake, the river itself, is already owned by some rich people, so they cannot cannot get anything, even though we already train them how to be a good fisher. But sometimes we need advocacy program. We need to accompany the community to get their rights, to get justice, and I think that's we need some advocacy programs besides the economic empowerment programs. And this is our philosophy of programs. So we have 3 types of program. The first one is the charity program, or we call it the social empowerment. The second one is the economic empowerment program or community development program. And the third one is advocacy programs. Because all the charity and all the community development should have changed the community or the structure of the society. So that's why we need advocacy program. On the climate change or our environmental programs, so we have 3 types of this kind of programs. So we have social service and humanitarian actions. These programs resolve the emergency issues. For example, during the flood, right, or during the landslide, Dompet Duafa sent is its search and rescue team, right? And we create, shelters. We giving foods. We try to, help the community directly. But we don't stop at the social service and these humanitarian actions, but we have another step, that is the economic empowerment or the community development, because we want to build a community resilience to a climate change by providing tools or assets where the community can have economic benefit from it. For example, so we have Mas Samsul here. Mas Samsul is one of the founder of the Sedekah Pohon, or the tree donation. So the tree donation or the Sedekah Pohon concept is we use the wakaf asset because in Indonesia we have a lot of wakaf land. So we have a lot of wakaf land, but the land is, you know, on the hill, you know, or in the mountain. It's very difficult to build like madrasah, or to build, you know, a masjid, or to build some productive or businesses, because the land is already on the mountain, on the hill. So how we can use this wakaf land? So this sedekah pohon or the tree donations, like we collect donations, we collect trees as a donation, and we plant those trees on the wakaf land. And these trees are productive trees who can, like the community around the wakaf land, they can, you know, have the economic impact of the trees. Maybe like that, like from the fruits, you know, from honey, bees, or something like that. And I think that
Aryo, you have less than 5 minutes.
Okay, we believe that these assets will sustain because the community will protect it and will manage it. And the last one is advocacy, that we build strategic alliance with other stakeholders. And Humanitarian Forum Indonesia is one of our strategic alliance for the climate change issues and also for the disaster relief issues. And this is some of our climate change programs. So we have waste projects. So we have like annual world cleanup days. And also we have susur sungai. Susur sungai is we go with our boat on the river, and then we collect, you know, some traces in the river. And also we, you know, provide grants for startup who has, you know, who has some products that related to sustainable living. So you can see the picture there. The picture is our moderator today. We support some businesses like pelepah. Pelepah is make, you know, make food container from pelepah. Pelepah is, you know, like what you call it, like a leaves, right? A leaves, and they press it as food containers. And I think that that's a very good initiative, and then we support them with our grants. And also we have a Water for Life programs related to WASH, as Mas Surya said. But we don't stop at the making the water sources, but we try to make a reservation programs, like how we can retain water, or we can retain rainfall. So that's why, you know, this Water for Life is not only providing the clean water, but also protecting the environment on our water plant. And also you already know Sedekah Pohon. And also we have murals for climate change. So we painting murals with local youth at natural disaster areas. Maybe, you know, in Tibet, they have a regular flood. And we make some murals on the, you know, some public areas there to educate the community how to protect river, how to protect the earth, etc. And also during the events of Ramadan, during the events of Idul Adha or Udhiyah, so we have, you know, some green or eco green takjil, and then we providing kurban meat without plastic bags. And also we have green masjid projects in some areas. So the masjid is using water harvesting system. So people can take wudu by water harvesting the rainfall. So, and I think that that's all from me. Thank you so much. And I hope we can discuss it later with you guys.
Thank you, Mas Haryo, for your presentations. I think we will discuss more because I think people here are also eager to hear what is the impact of your program, of Dompet Duafa program in the context of climate change and also COVID-19 crisis. But let's wait until the next sessions. Right now we have Ibu Titi Mutiasi.
Halo, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang semua.
Good afternoon, Ibu Titi. We sometimes we call Ibu Titi is our mothers because she's the one who very active in coordinating humanitarian activities in Indonesia. Ibu Titi would like to share with us about the current times of the International Humanitarian Days, the human race, and without any further, Ibu Titi, please, the time is yours. Mangga.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Pak Khalid Kamil, Mr. Khalid Kamil, and of course our colleagues from Dompet Duafa. Thank you for having me speaking here to actually just reminding us of our Humanitarian Day and the campaign that we are doing this year. May I share my screen? Okay, now. So the organizing committee requested me to actually give the explanation of why this year OCHA, the UN, is actually campaigning for action on climate change while we are doing our Humanitarian Day. So I think when we are talking about climate change, we know it. We have been talking about it in so many opportunities. We have been mentioning it in our meetings, webinar, wherever. We see when I try to find what are actually climate change and why we choose this. We see so many news here and there, the news of the severe damage because of the severe weather, the floods, the forest fire, the drought, and even this morning when I read the news online, the online news today. BMKG, our agency for meteorological and climatology, mentioned that within these 3 days we are going to have heavy rains. But on the other side, we also look into what is actually our personal individual action towards climate change itself. We know exactly that it is not easy to even educate ourselves, our family, on waste management, on really segregating the dry and wet garbage, and we of course see all these kind of things in the newspaper, in the news. We see this deforestation, we see the drought here and there. So OCHA thinks that after COVID, actually climate change is the real hazard, the extreme hazard that we are going to face, and we have been facing it. And then when we talk why for World Humanitarian Day we choose this, the previous speaker talks about how the vulnerable peoples are actually the one who are most vulnerable because of climate change. There are millions of people, they lose their homes, they lose their livelihood because of the climate change. So we need to work together on this climate change. Our OCHA Global Humanitarian Review, because we are usually preparing every year the Global Humanitarian Review 2020, we mentioned that in addition to COVID, with all the impacts, we actually see that climate change will continue exacerbating vulnerability. So in addition to what we have been facing now with all the difficulties, we are actually living and then facing the threat of climate change. World Humanitarian Day is trying to bring the issue clearly in front, in the eyes of those country leaders who are going to meet in November 2021. So we are trying to make them really realize that we are facing it. They are not doing so much. They are not doing enough in dealing with climate change. And those who are going to be really suffering is actually people who are vulnerable, who really need our help. Now, if we look into the cost itself, we see that the cost is adding by day, by seconds, by minutes. This is the number that I'm taking last night from the website, and according to the website, by 2020 we actually have lost 16 trillion. If we are using the 16 trillion to deal with the global warming, at least we're doing something. But if not, we are going to lose 20 trillion by 2030. So what we are looking also when we are campaigning climate change is that the impacts of climate change is actually interrelated. So if you have drought, you will of course have problem in food production and human health. If you have flooding, you are going to have problems on health issues, on the damage to ecosystem and infrastructure. And if you have human health issues, then you will have problems on mortality, impacting the food availability, the workers' productivity. So basically, climate change impacts are seen throughout every aspect of the world that we live in. It is very, very important. It is very clear. It is very crucial. Now, on the day when we are actually commemorating World Humanitarian Day, we remind the world that we are caught in a climate emergency, that the pandemic is not actually helping us in dealing with climate change. It is getting actually severe. And we are, the humanitarian actors, we are doing what we are used to do, providing support for people who are affected by the weather-related events. Last year, 12 of the 20 countries, actually they received the interagency humanitarian appeal. So OCHA is the secretariat in managing the full funding. We have what we call a Central Emergency Response Fund, but we also have appeal whenever a crisis happens. So the campaign is actually to tell us, to sting us, look, the climate crisis is right before our eyes. It is happening. It is not tomorrow. It is not the next 5 years. It is not in 20 years from now. It is now. And I think we also suffering it. We know it happened. When you are now staying at home, trying to enjoy your time at home, you feel it. The weather, the rains, the climate, you have it now. So we live in a world where the average global temperature is already 1.2 degrees Celsius warmer. And the IFRC is actually estimates that the number of people in humanitarian need will double by 200 million by 2050. And then meaning that the funding will need to increase to 20 billion annually by 2030. So we are actually in a difficult time. We are not living in a normal period. We are not going to have it because climate change is going to change the way we are living. Pandemic has become a game changer. Climate change will become the second game changer. We have to think about that. So the climate emergency is a race we are losing, but it is a race that we can win. So that is the spirit of what we are advocating through the World Humanitarian Day. That's what we have from the from the global side, but in Indonesia, I just would like to add that we have been doing many things. Until now, we have 35 activities, including the one of Dompet Duafa, with 40 participating organizations working with us. And we hope that this is not only a ceremonial thing. We hope this will touch the heart of all of us, of the people, of the leaders, that climate change is real, that we need to work for the most vulnerable one, and we need to work together. This is one slide showing a number of activities that we have been doing, the list of the organization, and we hope that this list will go on, and then hopefully we will be able to do something on the issue of climate change, doing climate action. So we have been doing this for the 4 years, and the participation of youth is very, very crucial. And we hope that this work is not only, again, not celebrating, commemorating, but doing real action for climate change, for climate action. I think that's all from me, Samsul and all colleagues. I hope this is useful for you, and hopefully we can have interesting discussion after this. Over to you, Samsul.
Thank you very much, Ibu Titi. This is very, very, very sharp presentations. And if you look into these presentations, I'd like to start from the end. Start from Ibu Titi. Ibu Titi mentioned that this is the climate crisis is real, and this year's International Humanitarian Days, we hope that it's not going into just a ceremonial, but can be more as concrete actions that need to be done by us together, involving many part of everyone in our societies. And then and from Mas Haryo explained about how this crisis are accelerating the vulnerability of the communities, and what has been done by Dompet Duafa in order to contribute to the reducing the vulnerability. And from Mr. Surya Rahman explained about the modalities, our modalities in our societies. Faith and religious community can be our modality to be utilized, to be optimized in order to get into real actions on how we can respond and overcome this crisis. And in order to do that, as what has been said by Mr. Khalid, we cannot do it as business as usual. These situations, what has been said by Ibu Titi as a game changers, is create a reset button for the civil societies, reset button sent by God for all the societies, including the civil society. We cannot respond it as what we have responded before. We have to improve our institutional capacity in order to level with the current challenge and also situations. So again, thank you for all presentations. Now we are going to get into the question and answer session. Actually, there are one from the there are participants who are raising his hands, and there are one's questions has been sent in the chat box. I'm reading it. I don't know who's sending this question because it says anonymous attendee. He said that he or she said that I'm interested on the BBC video about the impact of pandemic to the climate change are not as big as what some video and journalists said, that this pandemic could be called as a natural healing time. So what do you think about this phenomena? I don't know who will start responding this question. Maybe Mas Haryo, and then Brother Khalid and Ibu Titi and Mas Surya can respond it by started by Mas Haryo. So the question is, he or she want your opinions about the sentence in the video, BBC video. Actually, Bu Titi has not been able to see the video. Yes, the video was play in the beginning of our sessions. That said that this pandemic could pandemic to the climate change is not as big as what some video and journalists said. That this pandemic can be called as a natural healing time. So who will start to answer these questions? Mas Haryo or Mas Surya? Or I can Mas Haryo first too. Silakan Mas Haryo, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mas Samsul. Yeah, I think that the reality, what we are doing right now, is even though like people still stay at home, doing like working from home, but the reality is we still order food from from restaurants that using a lot of plastics, right? That using a lot of styrofoams, etc. So I think that contribute to the bigger waste problem. And I think that when we working at home, during the quarantine, I think that a lot of people like watching TV, using some electronics devices, etc. I think that contribute to the increase of using electricity at our communities and our country. And I think if our country still produce the electricity from the coal, I think that will contribute more to to the climate change, because the carbon emission of the coal will be more, and I think that not always, even though we are not transported from one city to another city, but we still doing this all at home. So I think that if we can reduce or we can change our habit, our consumption to be like more responsible consumption, I think that will be great. For example, you order food from restaurants that use some eco-friendly bags or something like that, or maybe you choose to buy from your neighbors, doing the community self-reliance, etc. I think that it's I think the nature can be healed if we as a consumers doing the responsible consumers. That means that we need to educate ourselves, we need to educate our family members, we need to educate our communities how to do the responsible consumption. And I think that this is the big challenge, and this is the race for us. Let's make it a race. So because if we don't push ourselves to get the finish of this issue, I think we still we still can see the global warming, I think. So yeah, I think that's all my answers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mas Haryo. For the same question, I would like to hear comment from can I call you Mas Khalid so we can familiarize. It's also connected with what have you said as a reset button, especially a reset button for the civil society. Many of us are changing from old kind of office into smart office. And like what have been said by Mas Haryo, we are now changing our type of consumption. But you know, in order to get the smart office, we need a lot of electricity, and unfortunately, especially in Indonesia, our electricity sources are coming from the fossil fuels sources, and also coal that are endangering to our environment. And I would like to hear your response about, so what should be done by civil societies, especially civil society organizations, in order to pursue what the reset button, yeah, to commit what have you seen as a reset button, in order to get more environmental climate friendly kind of civil societies, something like that. This Mas Halid.
Yes, thank you, Mas Hamso. First, as I said before, this pandemic is a reset button sent by the God. It is a divine reset button. Yeah, it might be a healing period for the world, but at the same time, if you wonder, we as a civil society organization, we have online meetings back to back. You see, from 7 in the morning until until 10 in the midnight. So our consumption of electricity is higher than before. We don't move to another place. We order our food from Food Panda or from Gojek to our table, and we use plastic bag. We use plastic bottle. So that's why sometimes I mentioned before that sometimes we as a non-profit organization or civil society organization or humanitarian organization or even a climate change organization, sometimes we are doing double standard. We advocate to the people saying that please don't throw away your waste. We need to separate your rubbish and things like that. But at the same time, we are the one that contribute to the climate change. So I would say that the first, the most important thing for us to understand is we need to educate and to advocate to our community. What are the things that we can minimize in terms of wastage? Like for example, before this, only officers have a printer. Now every house has printer. Before this, only officers will have electricity usage. But now every home having high electricity usage. Yes, the car doesn't move much, but we as a human being, we are the one that contribute much to the climate change. So what we can do? The smart office, the home office, everybody now decorating their home office. But at the end of the day, we need to think how we could change the mindset. It is a wastage for us, the human race. When the Mother Nature send the reset button, we don't take any, we don't learn anything from the Mother Nature. So we graduate from the pandemic without having any scroll. We don't learn anything, but we contribute more and more towards the climate change. So I do believe that as a civil society organization, first we need to advocate and educate the community. And sometimes the community, the grassroots community, the hawker on the street, they don't talk about climate change. They don't understand about climate change. And they feel that climate change is something is not real. When the government of Indonesia is saying that Jakarta will be sunk in a few years, what they said this is dream. You are making fake news. So how do we educate this? So the function of the non-profit or the civil society organization, really, we need to have a uniformity of advocacy for the community on the grassroots. And at the same time, let us work our talk. So we are yelling, shouting, talking big in the forum, but at the end of the day, we are the one that contribute to the climate change. So again, I hold to the premise that we should educate the community. We should advocate for better understanding about the climate change. And number two is we need to walk the talk. Only two. Okay, thank you very much, Brother Samsul.
Thank you very much, Brother Khalid, for your response. And now I would like to move to Mas Surya. Mas Surya, has been said by Brother Khalid, there are two things that need to be done. First is changing mindset and educate peoples and walk the talk. Now, maybe Mas Surya you can share with us what is the strategies, because I believe that we are working with so many religious leaders in many parts of Indonesia, and I think changing mindset and also educate people also become one of the biggest tasks of our religious leaders. So how we can make it, because in the context of that, in other situation that can be said that faith as a modality for changings, there are also some situation what we call is as faith bias. Faith bias is we are using faith to refuse following the science. For example, faith bias during pandemic is many bias during this pandemic are coming from those who are saying themselves as a religious leaders. So what is the role of faith-based communities in order to follow the suggestion that we need to change our mindset, we need to educate our peoples, and also we need to walk the talk in the context of responding climate crisis and also COVID pandemic situations. Mas Surya, please.
Thank you, Mas Samsul. Actually, I very agree with Brother Khalid says about the awareness. Awareness, I think, is a key for the make a change for the community, and then how to participate the religious leader. I think also is one of actor is very important in the community, because some people in mostly in ASEAN country is very believe the religious leader. And in my in the previous presentation, actually I have explored that, but maybe I'm not clear about this. I think the role of the religious leader, I think, is very important. It's why some activity we also participate the not only the religious leader but also the religious actor. We make a separate between a religious actor and religious leader, because it's different, because religious leader is a leader like an imam, a pastor, and etc. But religious actor is a community, they have a religion. And some activity sometimes we participate the religious leader how they can make mempengaruhi in English influence the community, because in some community the community is very believe with the religious leader, and sometimes when they say don't throw the waste in the river, I think everyone will be follow this instruction from the religious leader. I think it's one part, but sometimes we also we make a produce like a KA product, like manual khutbah, I don't know in English, like a realm product. When for the Muslim maybe like a khutbah in the Jumat, and then maybe in the Christian we make a product a khutbah for the jamaah. I think this one is one of a solution, because not much of the religious leader explore this issue in this khutbah. I think when we make some product like kumpulan khutbah for the imam and also the pastor and also the priest, I think is one solution, because the awareness need constantly to deliver to the community, not only one time, because if we just doing one time, I think it's not make a big impact. But if we can constantly the imam and then the pastor and then priest can be informed, and then telling the information to the new change, make a big change for the community. I think for me, Mas Samsul.
Okay, so basically the religious leaders and religious community is our modality for changing. Yeah. However, we also need to do some things in order to improve their participation to join in this effort. Now I would like to move to Ibu Titi. Ibu Titi, I believe that you are having connected with so many institutions, organizations, government, and also civil society. I believe that you are also connected with peoples from others regions, other countries, and I would like to hear your suggestions, your opinion. You said that by mentioning the statement from the UN General Secretary that this race is the race that we tidak bisa dimenangkan, but
losing. Yeah,
we are losing,
losing.
but also the rest is the rest that we can win. Kita bisa menangkan, ya, as what you said. Now, Ibu Titi, I would like to hear your observations about the opportunities. You know, the opportunity and also the challenges that we are facing right now.
Yeah.
Because I believe that our effort to combat the climate crisis should be doubled.
Yeah.
Cannot be done as business as usual. Cannot be done as what we have done right now. I would like to hear your observation about the opportunity for us and also the challenge that should be faced and also overcome by the civil society in order to push ourselves and also our governments into the significant reductions of emission, for example, like that. Silakan, Ibu.
Thank you, Samsul. When I'm listening to the response to from previous speakers, yes, I do agree that we need to work from the community, from ourselves. And at the same time, of course, it will have to also become a policy. So it should only, shouldn't only about the community is doing something good, but for so many issues. And I think the reality is that we are living in a country, and you have the leaders, you have the ministries, you have the president, you have the high level people who are actually deciding on the fate of the people and the country. So that is actually the key, because no matter how much you are working at the community, when the policy is not supportive to climate action, then to some extent you are putting the salt in the sea. Yeah. So what I'm thinking is that, first of all, there should be the advocacy. Of course, when we are talking about policy, when we are talking about the government, the ministries, I don't think we do have big enough. Just look at ourselves in Indonesia, not to other region. I don't think we have been working together strong enough on the advocacy of climate change. Okay, while he is working there alone, you let the Greenpeace, all those environmental issues who are very strong Spartans doing that job, but they are working in their own world. I don't think we are supporting to each other. So that's one thing that I think why we call it the human race, where we are actually racing together, is that because we have to work together. You cannot just leave them alone, only 2 or 3 or let's say 50, but we have to work together on that. Okay, on the policy for the government, because it's not related only for environment. It relates to the economy of the country. When the government, local, national, they are giving the permit for building a factory, which is actually relating to environmental issue. It is a big job. So for me, according to me, to my understanding, looking on many advocacy that we are doing, is that we haven't come together strongly, jointly on advocacy on climate change to the government. Okay, and then the second one, I think, because the country is actually, of course, we do need, when we are talking about the life of a country, it's about the money for living, the livelihood of the country, which actually coming from the private sector, the strong ones. And when we are talking about climate change, we are talking about the technology, all these kind of things. I think it should be, well, I don't know how, because I'm not the one, but I'm just thinking, when your advocacy, let's say, is you achieve the goal of the advocacy, the government is putting the regulation, etc. But then on the other side, they are thinking also about the economy of the country. Then there should be, I don't know, there are many studies, there are many research on converting activities of economic activities, which is actually dangerous for climate change, but then you will have to convert it into a more friendly environmental activity. So the second one is all these studies, all this research, I think, to me, they are just becoming research and study. No one is actually using it for decision making for the government as a comprehensive one, because the decision is not going to be only one part or 2 or 3. It is a country, and the changing of the paradigm to look into climate change is something big. So those who are working on trying to seek alternatives, they will need to work together. And then the third one, I think, the push from the international, of course, will be useful. If, for example, like we are now looking into the issue of Bitcoin, the issue of the online trading, where the country is trying to get the tax on it, I think the push from the international working together, taking also examples, experience, good example, even working together for a country like Indonesia to see that actually you can convert your productive area which is now dangerous to more environmental friendly production activity, something like that. But the collaboration, the international collaboration, support, and also bringing good lesson learned without losing the context of Indonesia will be very useful. The UN is only going to encourage, but we do not have any tool to push you, the countries, because it will then, the country itself who is going to make the decision on whether or not they are going to make the policy, to develop the policy and implement the policy on climate change or climate action. So that's the three things that I'm thinking while listening to the response from previous speakers. Over to you, Samsul.
Okay, thank you very much, Ibu Titi. It is very comprehensive response. We need to work together. We need to advocacy. We need to work together, and we need to. The last part is, yeah, I'm in my opinion, we need to push our policy making, following what has been suggested by many research regarding this situation. So policy-based, research-based policy makings, that I think this is also the things that I don't know. I think
it's not only research-based, because you have to be also realistic.
Okay.
Livelihood, economy is something which is important for the country. So yes, to some extent research-based, but also to be realistic. What can we do?
Realistic. Okay.
What can we do actually to help us doing climate action on the other side, but not jeopardizing the life of a country, because they need, of course, the economy to be alive.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, I think we experience so many things, like, for example, when we campaign about reduction for using of fossil eco or coals or fossil fuel, we are facing the reality that there are no others alternative energy that can be used to. So the things that we need to compile together into one simple solution that can be followed by our community and our societies. So now we are 11:53 in Jakarta time, and I don't know, I think in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, is already passing the lunch time for Mr. Khalid. But before we are closing our session, I would like to invite a question from the floors, from the audience. Maybe one question from the audience. You can raise your hand. I saw someone raising his hand, but I cannot see him anymore. Is there anyone from the floors that would like to give questions?
Samsul.
Yeah, silakan.
If I may, I would like to add some. I would like to share the experience of Malaysia. How
okay, please.
The policy maker, the state legislative body, they decide not to allow plastic bag in shopping malls. They decide to prohibit any plastic bag, any polystyrene, any straw for any shop in few states in Malaysia. And it became a big issue in the country. The politician politicized things. They said that the product from the pelepah is more expensive. The poor couldn't afford to buy that, and then they politicize everything. Okay, but even they said, okay, we need to look for more box. So now everybody become beggars because we are looking for box. So they make jokes out of this. But when the policymaker be steadfast with their decision, and nowadays most of the straw that are available are disposable straw. It is made from spaghetti. They make from kanji, or what is kanji? Glue. And it made from flour, and there is no even the McDonald's doesn't have any straw anymore. It is a no. It is a like a non-straw lid currently. Even the shopping mall, they are providing paper bag. So this is where the function of the policymaker. But if you see what happened in the US, in the state, when the previous president doesn't believe in climate change, it become a disaster for the country. So really, I agree with Ibu Titi, the policymaker. Yes, for Indonesia, the biofuel might be we need to use it for electricity, but we can advocate for others. We can go for non-plastic. We can hype up the social enterprises who could create more pelepah so that the cost will be reduced. So this is where the function of policymakers. And I agree with, apart from advocacy, apart from education to the grassroots, if we just doing the education to the grassroots, is like what we, like a drop of water in the sea, or even a spoon of salt into the sea. So we need to make things happen. The policymakers should take it and make it a law for the country.
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Har, for lesson learned from Malaysia, and also from the United States from the previous presidents. Teman-teman, college friends, right now I think we are now going into the end of our session, but actually there are statements coming from the floors. They said that this pandemic is a test for those of us who think wisely. We need cooperations and consents from fellow human beings, and also to preserve the nature. I think the statement from Ibu Sumarni Ismail is probably can be used as a trigger for a closing statement from all the speakers. Started from now, I would like to start from Mas Surya first, and then after Mas Surya, from Brother Khalid, terus and then Ibu Titi, and the last from Mas Haryo. Maybe Mas Surya can start first your closing statements. Maybe your conclusions, your lesson learned from for these sessions. Please, time is yours.
Thank you, Mas Samsul. I think my last statement about this issue, I think how to participate more stakeholder in this, how to deliver this issue. I think because not only this responsibility not only for the government, but also for us as a human being, also as a part of the community. So awareness is a key, and how to we can influence the community to make a better world. I think for me, Mas Samsul.
Okay, terima kasih. Thank you very much, Mas Surya. Now, Ibu Titi, maybe you can brief your last statement for these sessions.
Thank you. Actually, I borrow the words of Khalid Kamil. We should start from ourselves. I'm just thinking about this climate change, climate action. I have the experience even in my own home. It's not easy to actually educate our own family, even to segregate the garbage. I try to make two part, the wet and then the dry one. It's not easy. So starting from ourselves, from the family, then hopefully then we'll grow, and then nurturing the neighborhood. But I will agree, it should start from ourselves individually. That's from me. Thank you, Pak Khalid, for giving me that thinking over.
Now, because you are mentioned by Ibu Titi, Mas Khalid, you can you can deliver your last statement for these sessions.
Okay, to wrap up, I think for me, start with ourselves, walk the talk, make it happen together. We need to do it together. It's no more seeing the Greenpeace yelling on the street, going attacking the ship on the ocean, and we are smiling at them. But now we need to do it together. Any faith in the world, we are the human race. So we live in the same world. If this world destroy, all of us will gone. So we say we are living in the same world. And then for sure, let us educate our kids. Let us educate our next generation. Yes, it is very hard. I still remember I go to IKEA and I bought a few dustbin to segregate our rubbish. But at the end of the day, everything goes to the store. So that is how we need to educate our new generation. And last but not least, we need to be together to tell the policymaker, so that with power, the government can do a lot of things. We as the civil society, we need to educate the community. So that's it from me, Mr. Samsung.
Thank you, Mr. Brother Khalid. Now the last from Mas Haryo. Mas Haryo, please.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I want to borrow the words from Bang Khalid also. We need to walk the talk. And I think that how we can walk the talk. The first of all is I agree with other speakers that we need to educate ourselves, our community, our family, as early adopters, right? Because if we don't adopt the change ourselves, I think we cannot do anything. But we cannot stop in ourselves. I think that we need to change ourselves and invite others to join the movement. I think that the second one, join the movement. So after you change yourself, educate your family, so you need to join a movement. I think that you can join the movement by volunteer your time. You go to your community, you go to some organization that have some programs related to climate change or environment or biodiversity, etc. And the second one, after you volunteer your time, so you donate to a good cause to support the climate change programs. I think that, and also I think that by doing this, we can push the government and we can give pressures on the private sectors. So by responsible consumption, so they will see their consumers, their citizens wants change in the policy on the products, etc. And I think those two will make a big change. Educate yourself and then join the movement. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. Terima kasih for your comment and also suggestions about what has to be done by ourselves. Teman-teman, friends, folks, we are now entering the last sessions in our discussions. I will not wrap up the discussion, but let me share the line that we are starting by agreeing that climate crisis is real now, happening every day, and we are facing it, and the situation is getting worse every day without and we cannot respond it by business as usual. We have to change our ways of thinking. We have to change our mindset. We have to educate our communities. We have to work. Also, we have to talk with many stakeholders so they can speak this crisis, this climate crisis, from different angles, including involving the religious leaders, interfaith communities, and other modalities have by that are have by our communities. And the last thing is these issues, this crisis, we cannot, you know, we have to change our actions by involved in the movement, so the changings into the better situation can be created by us. That's all for me. As I said, that it is not conclusions, it's just my understanding, my lesson learned that taken from these presentations from all speakers. Thank you for Mr. Khalid for your kind presentations. Thank you also for Mas Surya Rahman Muhammad for your opportunity, for your kindness, for your presentation as well. And also thank you, terima kasih for Ibu Titi, very fruitful contribution for this session. I hope that we can all together taking lesson from these sessions, and not only listening but also following, like what have been said by Mas Khalid, walk the talk. So we are now not only improving our understanding but also guiding directions of our daily living from now until the futures. I would like to hand over this session to Mas Fandi Yusuf. That's all from me. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Mas Samsul, for facilitating the discussions, for helping us having a very fruitful discussions. We learn a lot indeed. Just like you said, we learn so much from our speakers. Thank you so much to Mr. Khalid, founder chairman Filandur Malaysia, Ibu Titi, Humanitarian Affairs Analyst UN OCHA, Mas Haryo Mojopahit, Chief DMC Dompet Duafa, and also Mr. Surya Rahman, Executive Director, Humanitarian Forum Indonesia. I hope, just like Mas Samsul said before, that we learn something for this. I believe all of us learn something from this, but also just like being said by our speakers, it's not only learn, but we need to take real actions. So hopefully it will inspire us to take real actions from the discussions. And again, thank you so much for all of you who've been participating since the morning and we know already in lunchtime and in Jakarta times. Thank you so much for staying with us during discussions. And I would like to invite to all the speakers and also the participants to open your camera, to activate your camera, because this is one of the most important sessions. For all the webinars, actually, we will have photo sessions. Yes, we will have photo sessions. So please join us. Please activate your camera to all the participants and also to all the speakers. Our friends, our crew, panitia will help to capture. So are we ready? Please kindly open your camera. Okay. I will wait for a couple of moments, waiting for some of our friends, participants to open the camera. Okay. Not all the participants can open the camera yet. Oh, sorry. Probably our operator can help. Is it possible to open access to all the participants to open the camera? So yeah, while waiting our the participants to be able to activate the cameras, I've learned a lot from the discussions. I take notes. Indeed, I agreed that we need to take actions from ourselves and then scale it up to our families, the community, and then also, joining the movement, campaigning and advocating, putting pressures to the decision makers, putting pressure to the government to actually making a real initiative that handle the issue, the climate change, producing a pro-environmental policy to make a real positive impact for people. So are we ready? I will count on 3, put your best smiles and say cheese. 1, 2, 3, say cheese. So Panitia, please make sure you're capturing all those beautiful smiles, okay? Okay, I would like also to remind all the participants to kindly help us to provide feedback, inputs.
Mr. Fandi, can you
Yes.
wait a minute, Mas Fandi?
Okay. Yeah.
Try to open the participant. We're going to move the panelists so they can open the camera. Wait, yeah.
Oh, okay, great. So I'm really sorry. We need to retake the photos because some of the participants still unable to open the camera. Mas Akbar, please kindly tell us if all the access has been opened. Again, I would like to remind all the participants to please kindly provide your feedbacks, your inputs for us. Our friends already shared the link for the feedback. Your inputs.
Saya mau
menyapa
Kang Surya, gimana kabarnya itu Kang Surya, sehat?
Sehat ya. Again, I would like to remind you, please provide feedback because feedback is valuable for us to make a better webinar in the futures. And we also like to remind you that we will provide a certificate for all the participants who already has registered. We'll sign it by email. Okay, with Mas Surya tadi, some of the participants asking your conditions.
Sehat, Mas.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. Mas Akbar, are you ready to take the pictures?
Wait a minute, Mas, because the participant is going to accept the promo to panelists. Yeah, wait a minute.
Okay. Yeah. Again, while we're waiting, I would like to also announce that this webinar is part of the Humanitarian Connect events. We held several events. This is the second webinar, actually. The first webinar was held last week, commemorating the national independence of Indonesia. We're talking about the spirit of volunteerism, and today is the second webinar. And we're also still having some activities. We are inviting all of you.
Siap-siap ambil gambar ya.
Okay.
Cukup deh.
We're ready.
Okay, we're ready, Mas Fandi. Sebentar.
Okay, again, please put your best smiles on the camera.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Say cheese.
Slide 1, slide 2.
Okay, please hold.
3.
Great.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Mas Fandi. It's done.
Thank you so much for the beautiful smiles. Okay, as I mentioned before, that this is part of the series of event held by Krisis Management Center Berbagai Duafa. We still have an event. Actually, this is a competitions. We're inviting all the creative peoples, all the people who have a creative spirit to involve. We have art competitions. This is part of the building awareness campaigning about the climate crisis, that this is real and people can contribute to take part, actually campaigning the issues, campaigning, building awareness of the people. For the art competitions, Mas Akbar, please kindly help. Can you please share the posters? Or you can actually follow Disaster Management Center social media. You can find the information on our Instagram, Facebook. We are also on YouTube. Just search DMC Dompet Duafa and you will find our account. Please kindly join the competitions. We will provide a very special gift for all the winners. So I think that's all. In case if we are unable to show the posters, I don't want to hold you any longer because I believe it's already the lunchtime. You want to take a lunch and take a rest. Until we meet again, stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane, take care of yourself, take care of others, and walk the talk. I'm Fandi signing out. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih.
Waalaikumsalam.
Pamit semuanya.
Thank you very much.